Dear students, welcome to the lecture series on the topic Engineering Graphics. Today we are going to discuss about orthographic projections of the points. I am Dr. IPS Ahuja, Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Punjabi University, Patiala. Now here we have been provided with a point which has been located into the third quadrant. Now we understand that whenever a point or an object happens to lie into the third quadrant, the point will be lying below the horizontal plane and behind the vertical plane. So here we can check. Here we have got the horizontal plane, the vertical plane, the left side profile plane and the right hand side profile plane. So all of these reference planes, they have been arranged in the mutual perpendicular directions into the spatial arrangement which have provided us with the four quadrants over here. This is the quadrant number 1, this is the quadrant number 2, this is the quadrant number 3, and this happens to be the quadrant number 4 over here. Now we know that into the quadrant number 3, the object will be lying below the horizontal plane and the object will be located behind the vertical plane over here into the third quadrant. Now when we look at this object from the front view orientation, top view orientation and the side view orientation, the projections of the object onto the reference planes, they will be obtained into mutually perpendicular directions. So let us observe, if a point is located into quadrant number 3, so where do we obtain different orthographic projections corresponding to this point? Now when we are going to look at this object from the front view orientation, we observe that the front view projections of this point will be available onto the vertical plane below the XY reference line. Similarly, when we are going to look at the object from the top view orientation, so the top view projections of the object or the point will be obtained onto the horizontal plane over here behind this vertical plane. And since this horizontal plane top view projections and this vertical plane front view projections, they happen to lie into the mutually perpendicular planes, we are going to rotate this portion of the horizontal plane which lies behind the vertical plane into the clockwise orientation. So it will be moving into the upward direction. So we are going to obtain the overlapping of this portion of the horizontal plane with this portion of the vertical plane which is lying above the XY reference line. So therefore, the top view orthographic projections of the point after rotation of this horizontal plane will be obtained above the XY reference line. Next, when we are going to look at this object from the left side orientation, so the projection of this point onto the left side profile plane will be obtained at this particular position over here. And we know that the portion of the left side profile plane which happens to lie behind the vertical plane, it has to be rotated into this direction over here. So we are going to obtain the left hand side projections of this particular point onto the left side profile plane at this position, and then about this hinge we are going to carry out the rotation of the left side profile plane into this left side orientation over here. So we are going to obtain the left hand side view projections of the point into the left profile plane on the left side of the front view projections over here below the XY reference line. Similarly, when we are going to look at this object from the right hand side orientation, so the projection of this object or the point will be obtained below the XY reference line onto this right profile plane over here. And we know that this right side profile plane, it should be rotated towards the right hand side orientation over here. So once we carry out this rotation of the right profile plane below this XY reference line, so we are going to obtain the right hand side view projections of this particular point onto the right profile plane on the right side of the front view projections below the XY reference line. Now we can observe that into the third angle projections, we have got the projection plane lying in between the object and the observer over here. So now let us evaluate the pattern of unfolding of these planes and the orthographic views as it happens into the third angle projection method. So we know that into the third angle projection, this is our horizontal plane, this is our vertical plane. Now the object will be lying below the horizontal plane and behind the vertical plane over here. So as we are going to look at the object from the front view, so the front view projections will be obtained onto the vertical plane below the XY reference line. When we look at this object from the top, so we are going to obtain top view projections over here, and then the horizontal plane will be rotated in the upward direction around this XY reference line or this hinge over here. So we are going to obtain the top view projections of this point above the XY reference line. Now when we are going to look at this object from the left hand side orientation, so the left side projections will be obtained onto the left profile plane over here, and this profile plane will be opened up alongside the left side direction over here. So the left hand side view projections will be obtained on left hand side of the front view projections below the XY reference line. And finally, when we are going to look at this object from the right hand side orientation, so the right side view of the object will be obtained onto the right profile plane over here, and this plane will be opened up alongside this right hand side direction about this vertical hinge over here. So we are going to obtain the right hand side projections of this object on the right profile plane below the XY reference line and on the right hand side of the front view orthographic projections over here. So as we carry out the unfolding of the horizontal plane and the profile plane, so we observe that the horizontal plane has moved in the upward direction, that is the clockwise direction. Left profile plane, it is moving towards the left side orientation. The right profile plane, it is moving toward the right hand side orientation. Now here we observe that the front view projections, they are obtained onto the vertical plane below the XY reference line. The top view projections, they are obtained onto the horizontal plane above the XY reference line. The left side view projections, they are obtained on the left profile plane on the left side of the front view below the XY reference line, and the right hand side view projections of the object, they are obtained on the right side of the front view projections onto the right profile plane below the XY reference line. So let us now proceed to evaluate the orthographic projections of the point C, which happens to lie 30 mm below the horizontal plane and 25 mm behind the vertical plane over here. So here we have got the horizontal plane. So this portion of the horizontal plane is available in front of VP. This portion of the horizontal plane is available behind VP. So this is our vertical plane. Now we can check this portion of the vertical plane lies above the horizontal plane. This portion of the vertical plane lies below the horizontal plane. So this is going to be our third quadrant. That is, into this third quadrant, the object will be lying below the horizontal plane and behind the vertical plane. So we know the spatial location of the coordinates of the point C with respect to horizontal plane and the vertical plane. So this is the spatial coordinates of point C. This distance below the horizontal plane is 30 mm. This distance behind the vertical plane happens to be equal to 25 mm. Now we know that into the third angle projection method, the plane of projection, it always falls in between the observer and the object over here. So this is our object, which is point C. We are going to have observer looking at the object from this orientation. Intermediate, we have got this plane of projection, which we are going to assume that it is a transparent plane of projection over here. So the front view projections of this point C will be visible onto this vertical plane below the XY reference line, we can check. So now when the observer is going to look at this object from the top, so once again, so this portion of the horizontal plane will lie in between the observer and the object over here, and the top view projections of this point C will be available onto the horizontal plane behind the vertical plane over here. So now we can check this point C, which is the top view projections, this point C dash, which is the front view projections. Both of these projections, they happen to lie into the mutually perpendicular planes over here, but we have to draw the orthographic projections onto the same two-dimensional plane. So what we have to do, we have to carry out the rotation of this horizontal plane in the clockwise direction, that is about this hinge XY. So with this as center, now we are going to draw an arc having radius is equal to 25 millimeter, so that this point C can be rotated into the top view projections over here as indicated over here. So now we are going to observe overlapping of this portion of the horizontal plane with the vertical plane over here. So now point C, that is the top view, has been projected above the XY reference line, and now we can check point C and C dash, they are going to lie alongside single vertical projector line over here. Now next, when we are going to observe this point C from the left hand side view orientation, now we are going to observe that the projections of this point C onto the left hand side profile plane, it will be obtained at this position over here. That is, the side view projections of this point C will be available onto the left hand side view profile plane. And once again, we have got this left profile plane falling in between this observer and this object over here. So now, having obtained the projections of the point C into the left side profile plane, now we are going to carry out the rotation of this left side profile plane towards the left orientation about this vertical hinge over here. So the left hand side view projections of this point C will be available on left side of the front view projections below the XY reference line. And finally, when we are going to observe this object from the right hand side view orientation, now we observe that the projections of this point C will be available into the right hand side view profile plane at this particular orientation. So now we observe that this C double dash point, which represents the right hand side view projections of this point C, so this projection has been achieved once again into a mutually perpendicular direction compared to the front view and the top view orthographic projections over here. So we need to carry out the rotation of this right profile plane towards this right direction as shown over here about this vertical hinge over here. So this will be opening up towards the right hand side orientation. So now we are going to observe that the right hand side view projections of this point C will be available towards the right side of the front view projections below the XY reference line. Now once we draw these three projector lines, we have been able to establish the relationship between the front view projections, left hand side view projections and the right hand side view projection. That is, all of these three projections, they are lying at a distance of 30 millimeter below the horizontal plane. Similarly, when we draw these three projector lines, we can see, so by virtue of drawing these three projector lines, we have been able to establish relationship between side view projections and the top view projection. So now we can check these two side view projections and this top view projection. All of these three projections, they are available at a distance of 25 millimeter behind the vertical plane. Now let us obtain the orthographic projections of this point C into a single two-dimensional plane. So here we have drawn the XY reference line. We have also obtained the X1, Y1 reference line corresponding to this left-hand side profile plane. Similarly, corresponding to the right-hand side profile plane also, we have obtained the X1, Y1 reference line into the orthographic projection view over here. So now here we can check. This is the vertical plane where the front view projections will be obtained below the XY reference line. This is the horizontal plane where we are going to obtain the top view projections after the rotation of the horizontal plane over here above the XY reference line. Now here we have got the left hand side view profile plane where the left hand side view projections of the point C will be available. And finally here we have got right hand side view plane after rotation where the right hand side view projections of this point C will be available over here. Now let us obtain the front view and the top view orthographic projections of the point C. As we have already observed, point C dash has been obtained into the vertical plane a distance of 30 millimeter below the XY reference line. Similarly, this is the top view projections which we had obtained corresponding to the point C. But then these top view projections had been obtained onto the horizontal plane. Now we have carried out the rotation of the horizontal plane about this XY reference line or the hinge into the clockwise direction. So this point C will be rotated to move into the upward direction, and this will be available at a distance of 25 millimeter above the XY reference line. So point C, that is the top view projections of this point, have been obtained at a distance of 25 millimeter above the XY reference line over here. Now let us obtain the left hand side view projections and the right hand side view projections over here. So in order to obtain left hand side view projections and right hand side view projections over here, we need to draw these two transfer lines. One transfer line will be available onto the left side and another transfer line is required to be obtained toward the right hand side from the intersection point of the XY reference line and the X1, Y1 reference line over here, such that these two transfer lines, they will be inclined at an angle of 45 degree with respect to the XY reference line or 45 degree with respect to the X1, Y1 reference lines over here. So now we have already verified that the distance of the front view projections and the side view projections below the XY reference line, it will be equal to 30 millimeter. So this we had verified by drawing these three projector lines over here into the three-dimensional spatial view over here. That is point C dash, point C double dash on the left hand side, point C double dash onto the right hand side view. They are all available at a distance of 30 millimeter below the XY reference line. So now from point C dash, we have drawn a horizontal projector line into the left hand side view profile plane and into the right hand side view profile projection view over here. Now let us try to satisfy the second condition, that is the distance of the top view projection and the distance of the profile view projections over here into the left side plane and into the right hand side view plane. They will be all located at a distance of 25 millimeter from the vertical plane. So this is our vertical plane available over here into the 3D spatial arrangement. Now what we need to do, from point C into the left hand side view profile plane, we are going to draw a horizontal projector line and extend it up to the point onto the transfer line such that this distance of 25 millimeter from the vertical plane, this we have to transfer it into the profile view projections over here using this transfer line. So from point C, we have drawn a horizontal projector line towards the left hand side orientation and once it intersects with this transfer line, now you see we have obtained a vertical projector line. And what does this indicate? Now we have identified that the distance between this vertical plane and this projector line, it is equal to 25 millimeter. So once we draw this vertical projector line into the left side profile view projections, wherever this vertical projector line is going to intersect with this horizontal projector line drawn through the point C dash. So this intersection point will be providing us with the location of the point C double dash into the left profile plane over here. That is the left hand side view projections of the point C has been obtained over here. Now we can check. This point C double dash happens to lie 30 millimeter below the horizontal plane and 25 millimeter behind the vertical plane over here. So this way, point C double dash, that is the left hand side view projections, have been obtained onto the left profile plane available over here. Now let us evaluate the right hand side view orthographic projections of this point C onto the right profile plane over here. Now from point C we are going to draw a horizontal projector line onto this transfer line, and now once we obtain this vertical projector line at a distance of 25 millimeter from the vertical plane over here. So now we observe that wherever this vertical projector line, it is going to intersect with the horizontal projector line obtained through the point C dash into this right hand side view profile plane over here. We are going to obtain this intersection point as C double dash, which will represent the right hand side view orthographic projections of this point C. And once again we can validate this point C double dash. It happens to lie at a distance of 30 millimeter below the XY reference line and 25 millimeter behind the vertical plane over here into the right hand side view profile plane. So this way the front view orthographic projections of this point have been obtained below the XY reference line. The top view orthographic projections of the point C have been obtained above the XY reference line. The left hand side view orthographic projections of the point, they have been obtained on the left hand side of the front view projections below the XY reference line, and the right hand side view orthographic projections of the point, they have been obtained on the right hand side of the front view orthographic projections below this XY reference line. So this is all for today. So we are going to continue with further discussion regarding few more illustrative cases of orthographic projections of the point into different orientations in the coming lectures. So thank you very much. Thanks a lot.